Hey everyone, I'm back, and I'm starting a new project. I'm going to be creating an iOS app. My wife wants an app to track our kids' activities that we do outside. There's this thing called 1,000 hours outdoors. It's basically your kid spends 1,000 hours outside every year. That way they're not spending 1,000 hours in front of a screen. Okay, so there is an existing app for this, but this sounded like an easy enough project and a good learning opportunity for me. So I figured I could just make this app for my wife so she didn't have to pay for it. So I spent 2 months learning Swift and SwiftUI, and now I'm going to create an app so my wife doesn't have to spend a whole $3 on the existing one. Okay, so I had my feature list that I created for building this activity tracker, and then I just jumped right into Xcode and created a SwiftUI project, and let's go look at it. So I had this is kind of what I want to do. You've got your goal of 1,000 hours outdoors. You can track and look at your what activities you do per day. But anyway, I got to this point with Google's help, just kind of looking it up and learning as I go. So I could get this far. Then I hit a snag because I was to the point where I wanted to start using real data. These are obviously just hard-coded values that I'm putting in here, but I wanted to start saving the data. There were other things along the way that just threw me off. I didn't know why I was doing @state here. And then the real thing that threw me is, if you know Swift UI, you'll know that it doesn't do everything and it still relies on UI kit. And the calendar view is a good example of that. So I had to create these coordinators. Most of this code here is just copy paste, and I didn't know what I was doing. But I spent a lot of time doing this. So between this and wanting to learn how to save it, I just knew I had to actually learn Swift and SwiftUI to be able to do this successfully. So I did some Googling and found a program to go through, and I settled on Paul Hudson's 100 Days of SwiftUI. I really enjoyed this program. It starts off by introducing you to Swift itself. Then after 2 weeks, I generally went a little quicker than that. I think I finished the 100 days in like 70-ish. After the first 14 lessons, it gets into actual SwiftUI stuff. Over the course of the 100 days, you'll create like 24-ish projects, so that's pretty cool. I think what I took away most from this course is I know, or I have an idea of what SwiftUI can do, and that will help me design my apps going forward. So I would 100% recommend this if you are wanting to learn SwiftUI. Absolutely do hacking with Swift. It's a time commitment, but if you want to actually learn it, this is a great way to do it. Okay, so anyway, after those 100 days, I feel like I've got a grasp on Swift. I don't know everything, but I know enough to Google now to figure out what I want to do. So I'm going to be scratching that app that I've start over. But I still kind of have the same feature list. And generally with all my previous projects before, I kind of just jump in and go. But this time I want to take a more professional approach to it and spend some time up front planning. Hopefully I'll be able to catch a few issues that I would have run into later and resolve them up front and have a more sound design going forward. So I took my feature list from before and I basically wanted to break it down into smaller not smaller, but broader main features. So you want to set a goal, you want to log activities to meet that goal, and you want to track your progress towards that goal. That basically covers everything I want it to do. So now I need to start thinking about my data and how this is going to persist within the app. I think having a goal and an activity are pretty obvious. But since I want this app to be able to be used by parents to track their kids' activities and track them individually, we have 2 kids, so they're not always going to be together. So I want to be able to say kid 1 is outside for 4 hours today, and kid 2 is off with grandma or something, so they're not getting those 4 hours outside, but I want to still track them. So I'm going to need a person object as well to track theirs, and each person will have their goals. And along with tracking kids, I want to be able to track my own or my wife's own goals as well. So there will be a person that has a goal and they do activities to achieve that goal. Is the basic idea. So I spent some time kind of mapping out how this will work. I got stuck for a little bit because of that. I want you create an activity, and in my mind I see it as you create an activity, you say who's doing that activity and specify which goal that goes towards. Originally I was thinking an activity would have a category and then it would find goals that match that category, but I think a better way to do it is to create an activity, add the person, and then each person will have goals that you pick that activity to count towards. This is exactly why I wanted to plan up ahead. This was like the 4th or 5th iteration of my what I first thought of in my head. And if I had just jumped in and started coding it the way that I had it in my head, I would have scrapped a bunch of stuff when I inevitably hit that doesn't work. So even if that's the only thing I catch by doing a little bit of planning up front, then I did great. So now I need to start thinking about what is a user going to do inside my app. Those actions are going to drive the views that I need to create. So they're going to create a person, edit a person, create a goal, edit a goal, create an activity, edit an activity, start activity, end activity. They're going to need to view goals and activities, goals related to a person, all of the goals that are in the app, activities related to goals, related to a person, all the activities that you see. So I'm using that as a template for what views I need to create. I think that is where I'm going to stop my upfront planning. In a more perfect professional setting, I'd probably stub out some of these UI designs, but I am doing this by myself and I'm itching to get to actual code. I think it will be quicker if I just jump in and design it with code. And this is absolutely wrong. But there is one last thing I want to do in this planning portion, and that is create a Trello board. I actually did that already. So I've got just an activity tracker Trello board. It's just a simple to do, doing, done kind of thing, and I'll add to this as I go, but this just kind of gets me started. When I'm ready to go, I'm probably going to start with this one here and then pull over as I go and add to it. They kind of just help me know what I'm working on and what needs to be worked on still. And it's also a place to capture ideas that I have while I'm coding to make sure I don't forget to implement them later. But I think that's gonna do it for this planning session. Next thing for me to do is to actually jump in and get to coding. So thanks a lot, guys. Hope you follow along with this dev series so you can see me go from nothing all the way up to a app in the App Store that you guys will be able to go check out. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you later.